Welcome to American Baker in Germany. I'm Michelle, and today we are continuing our bread baking series by learning how to make a wheat bread. I thought it was about time we used wheat flour, and this version is a German recipe, and Germans really love their seeds, so it called for either sesame seeds or nuts, and so I used walnuts. This is a whole wheat walnut bread. Let's get started.
Not too complicated today. We need 5 cups or 625 grams of whole wheat flour, 2 cups or 450 milliliters of warm water around body temperature, 1 tablespoon dry yeast, 1 teaspoon salt, around a cup or 150 grams of chopped walnuts. You can of course substitute sunflower seeds and some other seeds or nut you like. Start with the warm water and add the yeast to it and 2 tablespoons of the whole wheat flour and dissolve both of those in the water. Allow it to sit for a minute or two to activate the yeast. In the meantime, mix the salt through the flour. You don't want the salt to directly hit the yeast or you could kill it. Then add the flour to the water. I must say that the original recipe I read called for 4 cups of flour instead of 5, and I continually added more flour to it until I reached consistency and weighed what was left over so that I had the right amount. I added a total of a whole cup. You want the dough to be soft but not sticky. If it sticks to your hands like library paste, it doesn't have enough flour. I also kneaded the dough for about 2 or 3 minutes, continually adding more flour until the dough is no longer so horribly sticky. Basically every bread recipe is like this. Always add more flour if your dough is too sticky, even if it wasn't called for in your original recipe. Once you're happy with your dough, return it to the bowl and cover it with a clean towel and allow it to rise for about an hour or until it doubles in size. Once you get to that point, remove it from the bowl again and knead it briefly. Even though the dough is stickier here than it was, I'm not adding more flour because we haven't added the nuts yet. I knead the nuts into the dough at this point. The dough won't rise as effectively with the nuts, so it's best to add them after the initial rise. As mentioned, the dough is quite sticky, although you probably wouldn't have as much trouble if you don't knead it on a silicone mat, which kept lifting up. Not really the best for bread, just saying. Form the dough into a loaf and place it into a greased bread pan. Cover again and allow it to rise another 20 to 30 minutes. Bake at 350 degrees or 180 degrees Celsius for 45 to 50 minutes with a pan of water if you want a crispy crust, which I happen to like. Butter the top of the bread right out of the oven. As mentioned before, I grew up doing this and automatically do it, but I forgot one time and the bread dries out much faster without. Butter the top of your bread. It's totally worth it. Because it's a yeast bread, you can remove it immediately from the pan without having to wait for it to cool. Listen to this crust.
Oh man, there we go. Ooh, look at that.
It was a bit difficult to cut, so I feel like I should have removed the pan of water from the oven before the bread was done, but the consistency of the bread was lovely. It crumbled without being tough. It was also much lighter in consistency than you might think for a bread made almost exclusively of whole wheat flour and walnuts. It was just a touch dry and tasted best with butter on it. But my 3-year-old, who just asked for a piece, ate 3 pieces of this hearty bread for dinner and would have kept going if she weren't full. Very yummy bread. Highly recommended. For more recipes and tutorials, visit my website at AmericanBakerInGermany.com. We're also on Facebook and Instagram. Subscribe for more recipes as well as regular bread recipes.